on. They have history. They need to archive that history for themselves when they are sitting in their constituencies. ANC needs to archive their history. IFP needs to archive their history. All the other political parties need to archive their history. But the leaders need to come together and form one party for South Africa, for black people. Do you know what South Africa is so rich? How many people are here in South Africa? Almost 100 million people in here in South Africa. Okay, so what is the GDP of South Africa? It's more than billions of rands. I'm saying, if this government, if these people of South Africa come together, this country can afford to give each and every South African 1 million rand a year for the rest of their lives. We are so rich. That's why all these countries all these guys from other countries want to come and stay in South Africa, because they know what we don't know.
But there will be an argument that we already have more than 500 political parties. Some of them registered as recent as last month.
Yeah, that is stupidity. Why would you want to go and do something? Let's say you and me want this country to be okay. Why so many political parties? It doesn't make sense. So we know it's not an easy thing to achieve, but we'll keep preaching it, and we know most South Africans want this. So if the leaders that are benefiting from the corrupt system, we will leave them alone. We will never vote them into power. Watch in this local government election, see what is going to happen to these big political parties, because they don't respect people. You can't tell me you will choose a foreigner, an illegal immigrant, over a South African. That is very stupid of any leader to say that or say anything about that, supporting the immigrant. People are dying. Yesterday, Somalis were shooting each other in this city, in Johannesburg. Where do they get the nerve to even have guns and shoot each other in a foreign country? And they must be very careful. Tomorrow we are going to Joburg, and if we heard that some of them want to shoot us when we are walking on the street, I dare them.
Hello, South Africans, and the world that still dares to watch us. Before you close this video, I need you to sit down. I need you to listen. And I need you to feel two things at the same time: the bitter sting of laughter and the hot burn of tears. Because we are about to dissect a man named Pakela Umtakati Ndaba. An actor, a former ward councillor, a self-proclaimed Zulu regimental leader, and now, apparently, an economist. A very special kind of economist. The kind who thinks South Africa has 100 million people and that every single one of us can be given 1 million rand a year for the rest of our lives. Yes, you heard that right. 1 million rand per person, per year, forever. From a country that can barely keep the lights on in deep sleut. Now, let us start with the numbers, because numbers do not lie. Mr. Ndaba stood in front of cameras and he declared that South Africa is home to almost 100 million people. That is a beautiful creative fiction. Statistics South Africa. The people whose actual job it is to count us say we are about 63 million. 63, not 100. So off by 37 million human beings. That is like adding the entire population of Morocco or Canada to South Africa and pretending they do not exist. But hey, why stop there? Why not say 200 million? Why not say 1 billion? If you are going to lie, go big, go home, go to Nongoma and tell your ancestors that you failed basic arithmetic. Then came the masterpiece, the part that should be framed in a museum of magical thinking. He said, and I quote directly, "This country can afford to give each and every South African 1 million rand a year for the rest of their lives. We are so rich." Let us do a tiny bit of what he clearly never attempted, multiplication. If we take his fake population of 100 million, 1 million rand each gives you 100 trillion rand. 100 trillion, with a T. Now let us look at our actual GDP, the total value of everything this country produces in a whole year. From the gold mine in Rustenburg, to the maize grown in the Free State, to the call center worker in Cape Town. That number is about 7.1 trillion rand. Do you see the gap? 100 trillion needed, 7.1 trillion available. That means you would need 14 South Africas. 14 copies of our entire economy, running 24 hours a day, with no police, no hospitals, no schools, no roads, just printing 1 million rand notes for every man, woman, and child. And even then you would still fall short. But wait, maybe he meant the national budget? That is the money the government actually collects in taxes and can spend. That is about 2.5 trillion rand a year. Divide that by his fantasy 100 million people, and each person gets about 25,000 rand a year. Not 1 million. That is not even enough to pay rent in a backyard shack in Soweto for 6 months. So where does the 1 million come from? From the same place where he got his 100 million people, a deep, dark, dangerous well of delusion. And this is where we stop laughing and start crying. Because the tragedy is not that one actor is bad at maths. The tragedy is that hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of South Africans hear that lie and nod their heads. They say, yes, we are rich. The foreigners are stealing our money. The government is hiding our millions. And that belief, that beautiful poisonous fairy tale, has real consequences. It is the same psychology that makes a mother of 3 spend her last 100 rand on a lottery ticket instead of on vegetables. It is the same psychology that makes a young man with a matric certificate refuse a job as a cleaner because he is waiting for a tender. It is the same psychology that drives people to print fake diplomas from colleges that do not exist, so they can sit in a municipal office and do nothing, collecting a salary while the pothole outside swallows a minibus. What Mr. Indaba is suffering from is something we might call post-apartheid magical entitlement syndrome. The logic goes like this. We suffered. They stole our land. Now that we are free, the wealth must be here somewhere. I cannot see it in my pocket, so someone else must be hiding it. And because I deserve it by birth, I am allowed to take it by any means. Fake certificate, political connections, chasing away a Somali shopkeeper, or demanding 1 million rand a year from a government that is already borrowing money to pay its own workers. This mentality is not lazy. It is not stupid in a simple way. It is diabolically clever, because it turns every failure into a conspiracy and every crime into a kind of justice. And here is the deepest, most painful irony. The man himself, Pakela Umtakati Ndaba, does not live by his own fantasy. No. While he tells the unemployed youth of Mpumalanga that the state can shower them with millions, he personally accepted a gift of a Ford Raptor worth about 1.2 million rand from anonymous business people, delivered to him in Umlazi, with his former enemy turned ally, Ngizwe Mukunu, standing by. A 1.2 million rand bakkie. That is more than most South Africans will earn in a decade of honest work. And he got it for free, for leading marches that threatened to kill foreigners. So let us be clear, he does not believe in free money for everyone. He believes in free money for himself. The rest of you must stay poor and angry, because angry poor people follow him. And followers buy him cars. What kind of leader does that? A leader who knows exactly how the game works. Politics in South Africa has become a gold rush, except the gold is not in the ground, it is in the government's pocket. You want a house? Become a councillor. You want a car? Become a mayoral committee member. You want 1 million rand? Start a political party or join one and wait for the tender to come. That is why we have more than 500 registered political parties. That is why people with fake degrees from Rutherford University sit in directors' chairs at Eskom and Transnet. That is why the Zondo Commission filled volumes with stories of men and women who could not balance a checkbook but could balance a bribe. Because the mentality says, the country is rich, so I must grab my slice with my teeth if necessary. And if my neighbor is a Zimbabwean, a Somali, a Pakistani, then I will grab his slice too and call it patriotism. Mr. Ndaba says he wants one party for black people. How cute. One party, one leader, one bank account. Because that works so well in Zimbabwe, in Equatorial Guinea, in the Democratic Republic of Congo. No. The problem is not too many parties. The problem is too many people see politics as an ATM. The problem is a culture that celebrates the tenderpreneur who builds nothing, hires no one, produces zero value, but drives a brand new Ford Raptor worth about 1.2 million rand. The problem is a society where a young person with a real engineering degree struggles to find work, while a young person with a fake social science degree from a website gets hired because his aunt is a regional chairperson. That is not liberation. That is a slow, cancerous self-destruction. And here is the worst part for South Africa's reputation. When this man's video goes viral on social media, the world does not see one confused actor. The world sees a black South African leader on behalf of a black South African movement telling the globe that we are a nation of xenophobes who cannot do maths, who want free money, who think violence is a policy. International investors see that clip and they do not invest. Foreign tourists see that clip and they cancel their Cape Town holidays. African brothers and sisters in Lagos, Nairobi, Accra, they see that clip and they say, "So this is how our South African family speaks of us." The disgrace is not just that he is wrong. The disgrace is that he has made us look like fools in front of the entire continent, just as we were trying to rebuild our economy after COVID, after the July unrest, after stage 6 load shedding. You might ask, why does anyone follow him? Because he gives them permission to stop hoping and start blaming. It is so much easier to hate a foreigner than to learn a skill. It is so much easier to demand 1 million rand than to build a business that makes 100% rand in profit. It is so much easier to steal a qualification than to study for 5 years. Mr. Indaba understands this psychology perfectly. He is not a madman, he is a salesman. He sells anger, packaged in Zulu regalia and decorated with royal mentions. And the price of his product is your future. Because every day that we spend chasing ghosts, the ghost of 100 million people, the ghost of a 1 trillion rand giveaway, the ghost of a foreigner under every bed, we are not building roads, not fixing schools, not learning to code, not growing food, not making anything that the world wants to buy. So let me end with a truth that should make you laugh so you do not cry. Mr. Indaba said that if the government would just give everyone 1 million rand a year, we would all be rich. But think about it. If everyone had 1 million rand, what would happen to the price of a loaf of bread? It would cost 1 million rand. What would happen to the price of a taxi ride? 1 million rand. What would happen to the rent for a shack? 1 million rand per month. You see, money is not wealth. Money is just a ticket. Wealth is the food, the houses, the electricity, the medicine. And none of those things appear by magic. They appear because someone works. A farmer works, a factory worker works, a nurse works, a teacher works, a truck driver works. That is GDP. That is the only real source of our prosperity. You cannot print your way to 1 million rand per person. You can only produce your way. And production requires discipline, skill, honesty, and patience. 3 things that the Pakala Umtakati, the one who brings the sorcerer, does not want you to know. So here is my final report to South Africa. The man is a fraud. Not because he is poor, many poor people are honest. Not because he is angry, many angry people are right. He is a fraud because he sells you a dream that he himself does not believe, while driving a car that your children will never afford. And the tragedy is that you let him. You share his video, you nod at his speech, you whisper, he is telling the truth. But the truth is hard. The truth is that there is no 1 million rand. There is only work, there is only learning, there is only building, and until we bury the fantasy that South Africa is a giant wallet waiting to be picked, we will keep electing actors, keep printing fake degrees, keep burning foreign shops, and keep wondering why our country never gets better. If this video made you laugh, good. Laughter is the first step out of delusion. If it made you cry, even better. Tears water the ground where real change grows. Now, share this with someone who needs to hear it, not to hate, but to think. And the next time a man with a sjambok tells you he can give you R1,000,000, ask him one question, just one. Comrade, how much did you pay for your bakkie? Then watch him drive away. And you, go start something small, sell tomatoes, fix a tap, learn a trade, teach a child. That is your R1,000,000. It just comes one honest day at a time.